Hey.
Hi. Let me share my experience of the paranormal.
Sure.
It all started with strange noises and unexplained shadows. I would hear scratching sounds coming from the walls and see dark figures darting across the room. I dismissed the incidents as my imagination, but things quickly escalated. I began to feel a presence around me at all times. I would wake up in the middle of the night with scratches on my body and bruises that I couldn't explain. I started to feel like something was inside me, taking control of my body and mind. After seeking help from a spiritual advisor, I discovered that I had been the target of a demonic entity. The advisor performed a ritual to try and rid me of the evil spirit, but the entity fought back. I was thrown across the room and levitated off the ground. My family and friends banded together to perform an exorcism on me. The demonic entity put up a fierce fight, but eventually left my body. I was left traumatized by the experience and now lives in constant fear of the entity returning. So, this story is a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk in the paranormal world. We must always be vigilant and cautious when dealing with the unknown. Remember, if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, seek help immediately.
Oh shit. Is this story for real?
Yes.
But, how do you remember all this?
I don't. This is what my family told me. Anyways, I got to go. It's late night. I need to sleep.
Sure. Good night, love.
Night.
A few moments later. Hours later. 12 o'clock midnight. Just then. One minute, 37 seconds later.
Hey, Jake, this is Anna Ben's friend. He is possessed again by the spirit.
Shit, I will be on my way with my parents.
Thank you so much. I am heading to his house now.
Okay, thanks. Please God, save my brother.
Later that same evening.
We see the spiritual advisor performing the ritual on the victim. The room is dark, and candles flicker in the background. The advisor chants in a foreign language, and the victim begins to convulse. Suddenly, he is thrown across the room, and we see him levitating in midair. The victim's family and friends gather around him, holding hands and reciting prayers. The victim is bound to a chair, and we see him struggling against his restraints. Suddenly, his eyes roll back in his head, and his voice changes to a deep, guttural growl. A few months later, we see the victim sitting alone in her room, staring blankly at the wall. He looks pale and shaken, and we can see the scars and bruises on his body. He looks up suddenly, as if sensing something, and we hear a faint scratching sound coming from the wall. A few days later, we see an investigator arriving at the victim's house, armed with cameras and recording equipment. He interviews the victim and her family, trying to piece together what happened. As he reviews the footage, he sees strange anomalies and unexplained shadows darting across the screen. We find out about the dark history of the house. The investigator interviews the previous owners of the house and discovers a dark history. A previous family had been murdered in their sleep by an unknown assailant, and their spirits were said to haunt the house. We find out about the entity's origin. The investigator delves deeper into the history of the area and discovers that the land was once a burial ground for a Native American tribe. He theorizes that the entity may have been summoned by a curse placed on the land. A few weeks later, the entity returns. We see the victim sitting alone in his room, looking increasingly paranoid and scared. Suddenly, he hears the scratching sound again, and the room grows cold. He turns around and sees a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room. As soon as the family learns that their son is possessed yet again, they return to the house with the investigator to try and banish the entity once and for all. They set up cameras and recording equipment throughout the house and begin the ritual. As they chant, the entity grows stronger and more aggressive. Suddenly, all the lights in the house go out, and we hear the investigator screaming